Glad to see that you're well fed and that we're connected. How is the audio?
Everybody says good.
Okay, great. Folks, I'm the team lead of Team Wikispeed, and I'm a consultant with Scrum Incorporated. You might have come across me in Forbes. I've been featured 5 times, or on TEDx, or the mini documentary done on our Scrum team on the Discovery Channel, or in Harvard Business Review, or on CNN Money. I'm lucky to be a case study for how Scrum can be applied to non-software domains. Now, the part that's probably most interesting to you guys, and the part of the history that you guys are making right now, is Agile in government. And you guys are doing it in Agile in government IT and beyond. I run Team Wikispeed as the CEO and team lead. Team Wikispeed is an automotive prototyping company that produces and sells road legal cars. Our cars achieve more than 100 miles per gallon US without a hybrid drivetrain, all gasoline. It's the most efficient internally combustion powered vehicle in the world. We have a factory in Renton, Washington. Pretty close, getting closer down to Olympia. I'm saying hi to you today from all the way up in Linwood, Washington. We use Agile, Lean, Kanban, extreme programming, and extreme manufacturing. Here is an animation of the 8 modules of our Wikispeed car being put together. Because of the object-oriented architecture, we're able to develop the car's modules in parallel and integrate them every sprint. Because of the object-oriented architecture, just like good software, we're able to make changes to any part of the car every 7 days. I believe we have the fastest release cadence of any production automotive manufacturer in the world. Here's one of our cars. This one was produced by Lockheed Martin in Los Altos to train their space systems engineers. We're often brought in to teach Scrum by using our hardware projects. Here's our microfactory in Renton, Washington. This is one of the bays. It's currently being set up to have 50 Scrum teams run in parallel. We call this practice extreme manufacturing. This practice has been called the greatest common good for the future by open source enthusiasts, open source magazines, and alternative currency magazines. They find the idea of an agile company in a regulated industry to be refreshing and potentially world-changing. Our practice looks exactly like Agile for software. Our columns might have different names depending on what we're building, if it's a carbon fiber part, an aluminum part, or a software part, but they flow through our backlog, our Scrum board, and our Kanban board the same way. One of our team members put a sticky note in our backlog saying, "Let's reduce involuntary homelessness." That's all the sticky note said. Another team member refined the sticky note by adding acceptance criteria. Let's have it have a clean bedroom, a clean bathroom, and a lockable front door, but let's have it cost less than $100 US. Team members took that story through the backlog with no additional overhead, no additional announcement of what the project meant or could mean, and found that the foam we used to build our carbon fiber car molds as a waste product could be used to make these microhouses. Here's an early prototype. This microhouse allows a human inside, just with their body heat and no additional power, to raise the internal temperature by 20 degrees Fahrenheit, making this a survivable overnight shelter in most parts of North America. This caught the attention of the man who coached and ran the very first Scrum team, Dr. Jeff Sutherland. He runs a company called Scrum Inc. Jeff hired me, saying that more than half the teams coming to learn Scrum now are from non-software companies. And he wanted to take what Team Wikispeed was experimenting with and learning it and making it part of the core offering at Scrum Inc. So if you can see in the little video corner, I'm wearing a Scrum Inc. t-shirt now. I'm going to go through some examples. For more information on all of these examples, Agile, Lean, Scrum, and Extreme Manufacturing, you can find it at scruminc.com for Scrum Incorporated. Here's the Team Wikispeed backlog. We use an online tool called Carica. The advantage for us of Carica is it allows us to embed YouTube videos in the story cards. In that way, we're able to work in multiple time zones concurrently. When someone grabs a backlog card, they can click to see the YouTube video of the most recent demo of that card, and then iterate it. If you're curious, you can visit our live backlog at carica.com/wikispeed. We develop and produce our cars in 20 countries. We're more than 500 team members. I'm not sure if this video is going to play well.
SGT-01 pulling away from the stop sign outside of Hillsdale, Michigan. Brian Ford, passenger justice. Holy cow, we're just gone. That's that.
That was an early demo video from the beginning of our ultra-efficient automotive project, showing the car could go 0 to 60 in 5 seconds and achieve 100 miles per gallon. That video was our demo. We published it to youtube.com/wikispeed, and we received a flood of additional investment and an order before the project was done. In fact, that car didn't even look like a car yet, but by showing early progress, we were able to self-finance without any loans to the company. In 3 months, we built the version of the car that we campaigned in the X Prize. The X Prize was a $10 million prize purse challenge to see if it was even possible to build cars that could achieve 100 miles per gallon or more and meet road legal safety specifications. Less than a year later, we had iterated this carbon fiber car body. This is what allowed us to start taking pre-orders, as the vehicle now looked as good as its efficiency. We started accepting Bitcoin in order to purchase our cars. This earned us a cover spot on Bitcoin magazine. That produced a flood of additional orders. To keep up with that demand, we had to scrum our development process much more formally than we had before. We reduced our team size into 4 to 5 people per team, coordinating with Scrum of Scrums. This allowed us to accelerate and deliver more quickly. For those of you who are new to Scrum, Scrum is the simplest, lightest weight management method for collaborative teams. We started doing our work in pairs so we could have more and more people familiar with how to build our cars. Here are 2 Team Wikispeed members, Martin Val and Kurt Roy, and they're building one of our engine modules. By pairing, if either one takes a break, gets sick, or joins another team, there's failover of information without having to document the current state. Then we received this rendering from Rob Moorbacher in Germantown, Maryland. He runs a business called More Composites. He found our project on the internet and decided to draw what he thought would be a more beautiful body to sit on our car. We loved it and built it. This picture is from Agile 2012. It was hosted in Grapevine, Texas. It's the largest Agile conference in the world. This is from the closing keynote where we unveiled the production version of our carbon fiber 100 mile per gallon car. That car was built backstage in 3 hours. None of the people who built the car had even seen it before. They were presented with a backlog of tests, all written in user story format, or most of them, and they formed pairs and swarms to put together that car. That's now the production version we use for all of our vehicles. Our marketing budget wasn't giving us the ROI we wanted. We found that when we tweeted, Facebooked, YouTubed, or Instagrammed information on how we worked, we received more sales and investment than any formal advertisement. So we replaced all of our marketing budget with sharing what we were learning, and we received a much higher ROI. Mary and Tom Poppendieck, authors of Lean Software Development, then visited one of our shops to write a chapter in their book, Lean Mindset, where they featured Team Wikispeed. While they were there, they showed us how to increase the Lean methods applied with our Scrum and Agile practices, as they all reinforce each other. This is an Arduino circuit board. It costs $24 and it's open source. We use this to replace all of our automotive electronics, which used to cost us more than $1,000. That's how we work in Team Wikispeed, and maybe it's a fun anomaly. But I'd like to explore with you, can this be done in more domains, and can it be shared? John Deere flew 3 managers to visit one of our shops in Lynnwood, Washington. They built a car with us to practice our methods that we were exploring with Team Wikispeed, and all of these methods are exactly copied from the fastest moving software teams in the world, Agile, Lean, and Scrum. They then flew back to Moline, Illinois, and they brought me in as their trainer and coach for their Agile teams outside software, the teams that designed the next version of combines and tractors worldwide. 16 months later, they reported 7.2 times their initial velocity. That's the amount of output per person that meets their quality metric. That's with the same staff. No one hired, no one fired. They wanted to see if this was repeatable across geographies and across cultures. They launched a team 3 months later in Pune, India. In 13 months, they achieved 5.6 times their initial velocity with the same team. Their teams were 4 to 5 people. This is based on the evidence we have of velocity indexed by team size. The fastest teams, statistically, are all 4.6 people. So teams of 4 to 5 are returning the highest velocity accelerations. Teams larger than that seem to speed up each time they split. This led the Agile coach at John Deere, George Tome, to develop Tome's Law. This is so new that people are still having laws named after them. Tome's Law proposes how fast can a company organizationally change and company culture to deliver an entirely new type of product to the customer. George proposes that team velocity, the Scrum team, plus the portfolio velocity, the velocity of all the other teams in the value stream map to deliver the part, product, or service, equals transition velocity, the time it takes for an idea to go all the way to the customer's hands as a saleable product or service. Then John Deere launched it in Kaiserslautern, Germany. In 2 months, the employees had doubled velocity in that office. This was repeated in Indaiatuba, Brazil. Double velocity in 2 months is the current average I'm experiencing when teams launch themselves as formal Scrum teams. By that, I mean 4 to 5 people, a single dedicated product owner, and a single dedicated Scrum Master. Then Boeing came by. They hosted a white tablecloth dinner in my garage with 27 of their executives. They're exploring how agility can help accelerate past the quality gains they've achieved with their Lean Plus initiative. I'm quite excited to say I've just trained another 9 Boeing employees on Thursday and Friday of last week, and Michael D'Angelo, the Deputy CIO for the state of Washington, came and spoke to that group as part of what's happening now in Scrum and government. Lockheed Martin then called out, and I was asked to train 250 of their space systems engineers, then 250 of their missile systems and radar systems engineers, and then another 300 of their complex systems engineers. Then Raytheon. the producers of the Patriot missile system, and many others engaged with me for Scrum in hardware. This led and was catalyzed by the U.S. Department of Defense calling my coworker, Jeff Sutherland, to explore what Scrum means to the Pentagon. Jeff Sutherland was asked to brief the Pentagon on how they might get the benefits of Scrum, just like the fastest moving software teams are today. Jeff told them that 60% of the budget overhead publicly posted was due to change request fees. He said, by adopting agile contracting with the very important clause of money for nothing and change for free. Descriptions of both those practices are available at scruminc.com. The Pentagon was so inspired and so impressed by the results of Scrum, they put into law in the 2010 Defense Acquisition Bill that early and continued involvement of the user was mandatory. Multiple rapidly executed increments of releases or capability, early successive prototyping to support an evolutionary approach, and a modular open systems approach. Essentially, the Department of Defense made Scrum the law for defense contractors in the United States. This launched me on a world tour from Xbox One. Yes, I was able to play Xbox One before it was released to the market by being one of the 2 Scrum coaches to that team, to HP Labs in Palo Alto, California, to TomTom in the Netherlands. You might notice in this picture that a Volvo is being driven with TomTom running on the navigation. There's also TomTom running on the driver's watch. TomTom is not available in a Volvo car. They had deploying TomTom to Volvo and to a watch in the company's backlog for several years. A Scrum team launched them both in 1 week. These are the extremely happy Agile coaches at Zavia, our partner in the Netherlands. I was then brought in to TU Delft's hydrogen electric race car system in the Netherlands. Here's a shot of their backlog. All of this automotive project, the marketing behind it, and the finances are run through Scrum. I then participated in EduScrum, which is now on several continents and in many countries. The students, kindergarten through high school, report finishing the semester 20% early and with 10% higher test scores on average. I was then invited to the UNESCO World Heritage Headquarters in Paris, France. I was sat next to Thailand's Descendant of the Living Buddha and the European Union delegate from Norway. I was asked to brief the attending EU delegates on how to stabilize the Eurozone and the Euro currency. Now, that's totally ridiculous. Finances are not my background. My background is in automotive development using Scrum. But I talked to them about Scrum and how it can be used to reduce risk and increase ROI of companies. The EU delegates were so impressed, they said, "That's it. It's our job to pass delegation to make it easier for companies to be a Scrum company than any other type of company." They said, currently, when a company asks for government financial assistance, they're required to submit a 5-year plan of how they will restructure and recover. The EU delegates said, instead, we need to pass legislation requesting to see their backlog and updates to the burn down chart against that backlog every sprint. I then worked in biotech, pharmaceuticals, pharma, all launching Scrum teams, and then finance. The wealthiest privately held bank in the world, Pictet Bank, had me brief their account holders, which are essentially the world's oligarchy. This is the part that was exciting to them. In waterfall versus agile projects on average have a more than 300% reduction in total loss of ROI. The red triangle are projects which have had all ROI lost, full spend, no return on investment, no sales. We see that a third of all waterfall projects end in complete loss, whereas in the Agile case, it's 300% better, 9%. Then 14% of waterfall projects on average return full investment, full ROI, versus 42% for Agile projects. Again, more than a 300% increase in ROI realization. This was so exciting to Pictet Bank that they are now launching the Scrum Inc. Index Fund. They've never indexed stocks portfolios by project management type before. With this data, they have. This brings me to what I think the whole point of this Agile journey might be: making it cheap to change our mind. By finding projects that deliver value in shorter time frames, 6 months or less, maybe even 1 week, depending on the speed of the project, we're able to pivot more rapidly. This is exactly in step with Lean Startup, and it's the heart of Agile, Lean, and Scrum. I teach this method now in certified Scrum Master classes and by training and coaching, and in the Extreme Manufacturing Black Belt class. The next Black Belt class, where people build a car from end to end using Scrum and coordinating across Scrum teams using Scrum of Scrums, will be October 16th and 17th in Linwood, Washington, just north of Seattle. If I'm very lucky, I'll see a bunch of you there. Folks, thank you very much. My email address is on the bottom. We'll go right into Q&A. Also, my Twitter handle, or the Twitter handle of my company, Scrum Inc., along with 2 recommended hashtags, #Agile and #ScrumGov, are right there. So you can tweet at me and email me if we don't get to your question. I'm part of Scrum Inc. We're 9 consultants and coaches, including the creator of Scrum, Jeff Sutherland. We provide Agile coaching, consulting, and training in hardware and software globally. Are there any questions?
Okay, so Carl's question is, what are the biggest differences between a regulatory or government environment versus a manufacturing environment?
We have to be very careful about our test-driven approach. We have to make sure that each regulation that is pertinent to the project is in the backlog as a test to pass. In a less regulated industry, we're allowed to be less strict about our tests. But in a regulated industry, we have to include our tests as backlog items, which means that if you're in an office creating regulations, phrasing them as user stories, as someone, I can do something so that something happens, makes it very easy to bring them into a backlog.
All right. Next question. Jump up at once. The question was, how do you screw up the Scrum methodology and incremental delivery with the fact that the money still comes in waterfall?
Oh, sure. So the military has coped with this in one way by using earned value mapping. They take the total project value and show what % of it was delivered each sprint. With that, they're able to claim the cash each sprint early.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you started on this journey? I know you're a software developer. How did you get from there to building Agile cards?
Right. Hey, thanks for asking. So I was a .NET developer, so I was on the Microsoft stack, and I actually wasn't even a fan of cars at all and knew very little about it. But my very first company out of college was a Scrum company. It was one office of SunGard Corbell, a Fortune 50. And at that time, the office I was in, Relias Government Forms, was all Scrum. And it was an early company to have done that. But I didn't know any better or any differently. I simply followed along with my first job, and I thought it was the way work is done in the real world outside of academia. While I was there, a consulting company, Avanade, they were a love child between Accenture and Microsoft. They saw my resume on Monster and saw that I'd been doing C# development and Scrum. And many of their clients were asking for this Scrum thing to figure out what it was, and they needed folks that could write C# because they wanted to have them work on SharePoint. So they hired me to be a traveling consultant almost right out of college because I had a skill set that was new at that time. I had just lucked into it. Then I was flown into a company to say, should we adopt Scrum? And I answered, I have no idea. I've only done it once in one company. And they said, well, you're one of the few people who has. What's it like? And I said, well, instead of planning our work months in advance, we have a backlog that can change every day if it needs to, but it's usually locked tight during a sprint, which in our case is 1 week long. And they said, okay, what happens when you do that? And I said, well, we have a small part of the product working very early, so we're able to ship early and generate revenue early. And they said, all right, let's do it. By the time I had done that in 10 different companies, and in each one, they'd sat me in the board of advisors where they discussed, should we adopt Scrum? I then had some idea of what would happen to companies when they adopted Scrum and the types of challenges when the board of advisors said, let's do it. So suddenly, I was consulting to the board of advisors, where in the beginning, I was merely developing software as part of a Scrum team. But now I was doing both. By the time I'd done that in 10 more companies, I was one of the people who'd done it the most in the industry. Then the Progressive Insurance Automotive X Prize came out saying, is it even possible to make cars that get 100 miles per gallon using Scrum, or using 100 miles per gallon, meeting road legal safety spec? And I got so excited about that for some reason that I actually couldn't sleep at night unless I'd tried something that day to make it come true. But I had no automotive background at all. So I posted a backlog on my wall of my garage of red sticky notes saying, win the X Prize. And then I split that sticky note into make a car that meets road legal safety regs and make a car that gets more than 100 miles per gallon US EPA. And then those split into all the regulatory tests I had to pass. But I still didn't know how to pass any of them. I had no automotive engineering background. But I tried something every week and I blogged about it. People started commenting on the blog, and I actually did what they suggested in the comments and commented back saying, I tried what you said and this is what happened. For whatever reason, that got people so excited, they started flying into my shop, which at that time was Denver, Colorado. I moved to Seattle, Washington halfway through the X Prize. And they stayed and helped. Team Wikispeed grew organically exactly that way, using Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now we're in 20 countries.
So I've been looking with defense contractors. What other experience working with government?
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time?
Sure. The question was, besides the work with defense contractors, have you had any other experiences with government agencies or government bodies?
Yeah, so with the EU delegates, I've consulted with the EU, and then I've consulted with the DCMA. That's the group within the Department of Defense that checks if projects are not being overpriced. So they're the safeguard for correct use of taxpayer resources. Then the state of Massachusetts is launching Scrum in IT. The best I can tell, they're in a very similar position to the state of Washington. But I'll absolutely say, with the interactions I've had with Michael D'Angelo, the deputy CIO for the state of Washington, it absolutely looks like much of the work happening in Washington state is phenomenal. I don't want to say best in breed, but right up there. It looks like the state of Washington is showing the way of what agility in terms of policy making can look like. And when I was asked for the state of Washington to present the Scrum bill on how the legislature could use Scrum to speed up value visible to the constituents, I was absolutely floored that the state of Washington had anyone in it, especially in the legislation, that was considering something so radical. Absolutely exciting.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Michael D'Angelo, the CIO, is up at Ghost, like seems like every other week now. Did you mention anything about the structure, how you run things there, how people can get on this part? I think I'm talking at the TV and not you. Sorry about that, Joe. Question was, could you tell people a little bit about sort of the structure for your shop as far as how people can be a part of it?
Oh, hey, thanks for asking. I appreciate you bringing it up because that's actually a huge help to me. So Team Wikispeed is all volunteer. We have open shop nights every Thursday for new people, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Now, the closest one to you guys is all the way up in Linwood on Thursdays. Then every Sunday, we're in Renton, Washington, which is much closer to most of you. That's our production facility, where we set it up for production, volume manufacturing. Anybody can come in, 0 experience is required. It's explicitly open, and we pair with people that have the skills we want to learn so that we can learn them. We do work with aluminum, carbon fiber, polycarbonate, and basic electronics like Arduino and NetDuino. If you're curious about any of those, you're extremely invited to stop by in Linwood, Washington, any Thursday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., or in Renton, Washington, any Sunday from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. If you go to wikispeed.org, you can see the address and you can contact us. It's totally cool if you guys send us an email, tweet, Facebook, or YouTube at us to stay in touch that way. And on our website, wikispeed.org, you can join the team right online. There's no cost to do so. Now that said, Team Wikispeed is funded entirely by donations. If you guys think what we're doing is cool with ultra-efficient cars and microhouses, I'd encourage you to PayPal us $10 a month. You can do that at wikispeed.org. There's a button to subscribe to send us $10 a month. So for the price of 2 fancy coffees a month, you help us build ultra-efficient cars and shelters for the involuntarily homeless.
Very cool. I've been up there too, and it was a fantastic experience. I was still grinning the next day. Just really fantastic. And like you said, I'm not a car person at all. And I felt really at home there. Great team, multifunctional team. So paired up with somebody with years of experience and wrenches, and just was a great experience. I highly, and like Michael D'Angelo said, if anyone saw the cat, totally worth the drive. Totally worth the drive. Any more questions for Joe? Okay. So we had a question about open source, but how important has it been? How has it been important to this process?
It's made it a lot easier for people that work at different companies and even competing companies to contribute, because there's no question of does their competitor own the IP? Everybody owns the IP. So that's made it a lot easier for us to have volunteers from any type of company. Now that said, most of the clients I work with are not open source. They found they're able to use a similar method, but they do have to have people sign an IP release agreement before they join their team, and they essentially crowdsource and crowdfund it that way, but they sign an IP release as part of the crowdsource engagement. Team Wikispeed, we sign an open source waiver saying you still own your own idea, whoever you are, but Team Wikispeed can also use it for free forever. And with that, we're able to have people from competing organizations participate. I'd say that has been very important for us for the speed of our growth. Plus, it's super fun because there's just no question of is this restricted or is it going to hit production. It immediately goes into production with nothing holding it back. Plus, it makes it impossible for us to be sued to not do our own work. We never have to go to court to defend our IP because it's explicitly released.
any more questions?
Michael D'Angelo types, how do you do retrospectives? I think it was Michael D'Angelo. It just flashed for a second at the top of this monitor. We do retrospectives every Thursday night using Google Groups. So it's an online chat tool. That way people can dial in from anywhere all over the world. And we use the happiness metric. On a scale of 1 to 5, how happy are you with your role in the last week and your ability to contribute to the team? And on a scale of 1 to 5, how happy are you with the company and its ability to achieve its mission statement? Then, most importantly, we ask why, and then we propose a single process improvement that the team will try next week just to have more fun and get more done. I bet that's similar to how a lot of you do retrospectives with your Scrum teams or in your Scrum teams.
No, we just sit around in a circle and complain about stuff.
Also a valid technique.
That sounds like a picture of a productive retrospective. It's really nice. So I noticed on one of your slides there was a Scrum Gov hashtag. What sort of stuff goes on in there?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I should have talked a little more about it, and I'm glad you noticed it. Hashtag Scrum Gov on Twitter and Instagram. Also, people even use it to tag videos on YouTube. It's where a whole lot of folks who are doing Scrum in government at all levels, local, city, neighborhood, state, federal, it's where they post what they're trying, what's working, and what's not working. It's a fantastic place to share something you want to try or something you are trying, get other people's feedback, and learn from what other people are trying all around the world.
So you're considered the founder of Extreme Manufacturing, is that right?
That's correct. That hilarious experiment in my garage has grown into a business practice being used now all over the world, hilariously enough.
Can you share with us a couple of the tenets of Extreme Manufacturing?
I'd love to. Thanks for asking. So Extreme Manufacturing is, I hope, the simplest set of technical practices that let us use Scrum in manufacturing or any non-software project. The first one has a lot to do with how we set up our Scrum room, the room where people do the work, whether it's manufacturing or passing legislation. The first is that the room is always open. So at Team Wikispeed, that means there's a keypad on the door, and anyone who's a member of the team has 24/7 access. That way they can work anytime they want to and self-organize their time. That simple addition has absolutely doubled our velocity right there. Then we have the safety shelf. There's 6 of these practices altogether. The second is the safety shelf. That means for whatever domain we're in, per Scrum room, all the safety gear that's useful to that domain, hardware manufacturing, soldering, electronics, whatever, is in one place. So people know one place to go to get safety gear. When we do this in mass production, it's like the safety gear that's distributed across current plants, but what it means for us is there's a single point of access. The third practice is the snack shelf, where we stock beer and healthy snacks. Yes, we have booze and alcohol at every event, every time of day, and that's explicit company policy, that is allowed. Then the fourth practice is that all of our tools are visible from standing in one place. So per Scrum room, there's a place where you can stand where all the tools and inventory we have is visible at once without having to walk. This is related to the lean principle of go and see, and able to see what's happening and what's about to happen soon, except we make the go part even more lean. You can stand in one spot. The fifth practice is the Kanban of tests. That's our backlog. We use a huge whiteboard. It's about 20 feet long and 8 feet tall per Scrum room, and that hosts all the sticky notes of what we're building that day. It also hosts most of the sprint backlog of what we're going to be building that week. The sixth practice is the cleaning shelf. Everything required to get the shop just as clean as it was when we started, is visible so people can use it. In this way, anyone can walk in anytime, grab a card off the backlog, see the test of what it means for it to be done, attempt the work, film a demo video, upload it to our YouTube channel, and then clean the shop and head out. By having 24/7, 365 access, most team members work 2 hours a week. In that 2 hours a week, whenever people have time, because most of us have other jobs, like I'm an Agile trainer and consultant. In that 2 hours a week, we have a 10,000 times faster pace of development, new product development, than traditional automotive manufacturing companies. I think it's probably the beer.
All right, so I apologize. I've been ignoring some of these folks on chat here that have had some questions coming in. So I'll start relaying a couple of those to you. Let's see. Michael B. asked, how do you do retrospective and documentation when your sprints are only 2 hours long?
Yeah, so the retrospectives are through Google Hangouts every Thursday from 6 to 7. So our sprints are 1 week. It's just in that week, most people only work 2 hours. The retrospectives part takes about 15 minutes.
Gotcha. Another question is, will you be coming down to Olympia to do training that soon, or would you like to?
All the time. That's absolutely what feeds my family, and I think it's a lot of fun. So I'd love to.
Great. Any questions here in the room? Focus too much on the chat window here, but we can throw a couple more there. Right. Here's a fun one. I think Michael might be messing with you a little bit. What's the difference between lean and agile, in your words?
Love it. So lean is using less stuff without frustrating your customer. Now, the second part of that is seldom translated from the Japanese, but it's absolutely core. So if lean is a mindset, use less stuff without frustrating your customer, agile would then be a mindset of how to reduce the cost to make change. Now, they're complementary mindsets. I'm often brought in by companies with very mature Lean Six Sigma initiatives. They have very low defects rates, very low takt times, if any of you are into Lean. But what they found is their pace of new product development is really slow. See, Lean is great for eliminating variance, making everything the same so it's not waste. The problem is innovation is a form of variance. There's nothing in Lean that's against innovation, but the way it's implemented often slows down new product development because it eliminates those sources of variance, which are also sources for innovation. Adding Agile to the mix brings that pace of innovation back up, in my experience. That's what I'm observing at these clients when I get to work there. So if Agile is reducing the cost to make change and Lean is using less stuff without frustrating your customer, they're natural complements. The Lean Enterprise Institute put it this way. They drew a picture of a yin-yang on the wall. And a yin-yang, it has a little dot of the other color on each side. So there's a big swirl of one color, and then there's a dot of the opposite side's color. They said, this side of the yin-yang is Lean. This is Scrum teams implementing Lean principles. They touched the little dot of the white color and said that they're Scrum teams. Then on the other side, they traced the white side of the yin-yang and said, these are Scrum teams implementing new product development using Lean principles. They said Lean and Scrum, and so they were specific to Scrum in that case, are a complete yin-yang for implementation and new product development where one uses the other. I thought that was interesting and elegantly put.
Okay, I've got another question from chat here. How long should sprints be, and are there downsides to really short sprints? But I know your answer on that.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people in the room have an opinion. I bet a lot of people in the room have an opinion on this. They've probably seen a lot with short and long sprints. So the longer a sprint is, A sprint length is the longest we can develop something irrelevant. That's our feedback loop to our customer, if we invite our customers to our demo, which is a best practice, or our product owner as our customer proxy. So the longer the sprint length is the longest we can be producing work that might not be value add. In that case, the benefits I'm seeing are the shortest sprint cycle where we can produce a potentially shippable product increment. Now that cycle gets shorter and shorter as the team sharpens its Scrum practices, enhances its agile architecture, and its agility. And I saw a critical question pan by it flashes up on the screen, but only for a second. Someone said, what type of beer should we bring? I'm trying to lose weight, so I really like Corona Light. So people, when they visit the Wikispeed shops, don't have to bring anything. But we ask them, if you're going to bring anything, please bring beer and healthy snacks. So any type of healthy snack is awesome. Cliff Bars are a pretty good compromise between healthy and a good shelf life. And then for beer, all beer is good. Everybody loves it. But in particular, I like to have at least some light beer on hand. And as we get some really gourmet beer sometimes, and it gets snapped up right away. Come on over and enjoy a beer. You don't even have to bring any beer. Just enjoy some of what we have. But I found I'm on a Bud Light kick and a Corona Light kick, which is not like a traditionally high-end beer, but I'm really into it lately. So I'll just say the product owner would appreciate that.
Are you possibly anywhere where you could pan around and show us some stuff?
Oh gosh, wouldn't that be awesome? Sadly, I'm not. I've got a 5-month-old baby daughter, and I knew I was going to be shouting at the screen because I get really excited. So I went into this like little, I don't even know what it is, this corner room. I'm at my house, and there's nothing around me except suitcases. So I'm like kind of under the stairs. But I wish I could pan around to show you guys some cars. What I will say is at the end of this presentation, if you guys locally would click to wikispeed.org, and then particularly the tab there that says cars, you can see some pictures of what we build in terms of cars, and then maybe the microhouse tab, and then click PayPal Team Wikispeed and send us $10 a month.